Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at Lost Box, a deck that has been a very strong single prize option in the Lost Origin format, but may drop off just a little bit with the brand new Silver Tempest cards coming out in a couple of weeks. Figured we'd better play it now, considering it might drop off. This list is very strong. Let me talk through some of the key cards for you. Firstly, we have the Lost Zone engine. That means we're going to be running 4 copies of Comfey, which has the flower selecting ability. It allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand, and then send the other to the Lost Zone. That seems like it might be a negative effect, but when you consider the fact that lots of our Pokemon attack with Lost Zone conditions, that is a really good way of getting through our cards, but also powering up our attackers. For example, we have 2 copies of Cramorant in the deck with the Lost Provisions ability. That means that if we have 4 or more cards in our Lost Zone, this Cramorant attacks for free. Means we can use Spit Innocently for 110 damage for free instead of the 2 water and the colorless energy that it would normally cost. That means that as soon as turn 1 going second, we are able to attack for free and create a lot of pressure for our opponents. Now, we'd need to use a lot of Comfey to get to 4 on turn 1. Instead, we will also play some copies of Colress's Experiment, a supporter card that allows us to look at the top 5 cards of our deck, and then put 3 of them in our hand and 2 in the Lost Zone. A very useful supporter to try and get those extra Lost Zoned cards. Now, you might ask, why would we want to put more in the Lost Zone if Cramorant only needs 4? Well, our real critical attacker is going to be Sableye, and we're finally using the channel mascot here for the Lost Mine attack. Essentially, Lost Mine for 1 Psychic Energy lets us place 120 damage on our opponent's side of the field. So we can place 12 damage counters, but only if we have 10 cards in the Lost Zone. With Comfey and Colress's Experiment, as well as cards like Lost Vacuum, we can very easily get to 10 cards in the Lost Zone and start using Sableye to take knockouts on our opponent's Pokemon in whatever way we like, really. Very strong. If Sableye is not good enough, our final attacker, Radiant Charizard, is very good for finishing off V or V-star Pokemon in the mid to late game. Its Combustion Blast attack would normally cost a Fire and 4 colorless energy, deal 250 damage, but because of the Excited Heart ability, we can reduce the cost by a colorless for every prize our opponent has taken. That means if our opponent has 2 prizes remaining, we can attack with Radiant Charizard for 250 damage, which will knock out a lot of Pokemon after you consider the fact that we can place enough damage counters to get those knockouts with Sableye in the early game. If you like the list, it's obviously on the screen, but you can also check it out down in the description. Let's jump across to PTCG Live for a couple of games to show off exactly why Sableye is so good. Here we are on Pokemon TCG Live, which you can download right now if you're in a select beta country, or if you're in the future, then you can download it now anyway. Definitely would recommend, because you can get this deck really cheaply over there. At the moment, we are playing up against Zoroark V-Star, and thank you very much to Not Sparksy for volunteering to play a couple of games with me today. Genuinely appreciate it. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult on the standard ladder to find quality games to show you, only because the player base in Australia is a little bit small at the moment. Looking forward to that global release later in the year, which is allegedly coming. They've got a pretty good start here, but we have a potentially better one. We can VIP pass here for a couple of Comfey, put those onto the bench. We have Colress as well, which we might play. Oh boy, that's given us all of these Switch Carts. We could just grab all 3 of them, right? Like, we could. I think it's better to grab the Psychic Energy. Get rid of 2 switching cards here. We already have 1 in hand. We've got 3 now. Let's Flower Selecting. We should be able to get an attack off with our Cram this turn. I'm going to go with the Fog Crystal. We don't need that Psychic Energy. We've already got 2 in hand, so that's perfectly fine. We'll retreat for free using the Air Balloon to get the Comfey into the active. We'll Flower Selecting again. This will be our 4th card going into the Lost Zone. I think we have Cross Switcher in hand. We might hold on to that here and put the Escape Rope. Oh, the Escape Rope's really good. I think the Cross Switch is better. So we'll grab that. Put another Escape Rope into the Lost Zone, and then now we will be able to attack with our Cram. I think that's perfectly fine. I'm going to grab a Sableye here. We'll throw that down. We have the energy in hand. We may as well attach it, and then we can Switch Cart into the Cramorant and attack with Spit innocently. Obviously, attacking for no energy because we have 4 cards in the Lost Zone. So very, very, very strong. And we've put our opponent's Hisuian Zoroark V in a bit of an awkward spot. Looks like, though, our opponent doesn't necessarily want to deal with this Comfey. He has used Boss's orders to bring the Comfey with the Air Balloon into the active. And here comes a V-Star ability, Phantom Star for Zoroark. To draw 7 cards. Discard their hand, draw 7. Getting rid of a Marnie, which I wouldn't have minded if they'd played, to be brutally honest. Could accept it. And yeah, now we're in a bit of a bind. We have a Fog Crystal for another Comfey if we need it. We can also attack with Cram next turn for free. That's fine. Their hand's low. Hand size is low, so we might be in for a shot to attack with Cram and hope they avoid the Sharon. Scrap that. They're actually going to play a Crobat. But now, that means we might have a target for this Cross Switcher. We could theoretically throw a Comfey into the active, use Flower Selecting, and then Cross Switcher out the Crobat and attack with Cramorant, which will put it on 130. Make it very easy for our Sableye to knock out later. It's almost as if being listened to here. The big Parasol going down onto that Crobat means now Sableye cannot damage it and prevent effects of attacks done to the Pokemon. With this item attached, we will now need to find a copy of our Lost Blender? Lost Blower? Whatever it's called, to try and remove that from play. We cannot stop discarding our Escape Ropes. It's pretty brutal. We'll go for the Fog Crystal here with the Scoop Up Net into the second Comfey, which I like. So we can scoop up the Comfey in the active. We're going to throw this Comfey forward. Use Flower Selecting again. We want to maintain our use of that particular ability as much as possible. We will Lost Zone another Psychic Energy. I don't think we're going to need it. I do want to attack with our Cram here. What are we on? We've got a few more to get to before our Sableye. I think it is time to go for the Cross Switcher. We'll bring the Crobat into the active and attack for 110 in just a moment. We'll Flower Selecting one more time. We can attach, and then it's another Scoop Up Net and Escape Rope. That is brutal. We might just scoop this one up. Chuck the Cram in the active. We can play down the Comfey, and now we can attach the energy onto Comfey for next turn, so we can be a little bit more flexible with our play. Spit Innocently will put the Crobat on 130, means 50 more damage will take a knockout on that Crobat, but we will need to remove the Parasol before Sableye can get that KO. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Also, thank you very much for sticking around during the game. I appreciate you being here as usual. We're trying a new start time. If you were watching this as it came out, it's actually 2 AM in Australia. I'm asleep when this video comes out, but I think it's going to be better for my American viewers, who I'm always looking out for. So thank you guys for coming along. If you have enjoyed what I'm doing, please leave a like. That would be great. Yeah, otherwise, we're just going to keep plugging along. We're going to try our very, very best here to get some good games out with Sableye, get some good games out with cards before Silver Tempest comes out, because it is coming very, very shortly. Only a few weeks now until we have access to those cards. November the 10th, I believe, is the time for Lost Origin to move aside. Flower Selecting, we'll grab ourselves... Oh, this is a very interesting hand. I will get rid of the Fire Energy. We've got the Cross Switcher. I like that to be able to potentially take a knockout on a Crobat. I'm going to gamble a little bit on hitting a good card off of Comfey, and we've got the Colress. I was kind of saying we don't really care too much about whether this Colress gets knocked out, but I do like this here. We've got Path to the... Actually, Path doesn't really matter. What we should do is we should bin both of these paths and then use a Sableye to get an attack next turn. So I think we want to grab the Lost Vacuum here. The Switch Cart will get us into the Cramorant, and then next turn we can Sableye for knockout. I think it's actually going to be, what's this? I think it might be perfect maths on 2 of them. 220. We're going to hit into this Zoroark here. I think that's good. We'll play the Sableye down now. And then we can spit innocently. That'll put this Zoroark on 220. And then next turn we'll be dealing 120 damage with our Sableye. We'll Lost Vacuum away the Parasol. And 50 on the active, 50 on the bench Crobat will be 4 prizes next turn. So I'm happy with that. Our opponent's hand's relatively small. Zoroark does play Sharon though, so they could theoretically play that card and really stymie the amount of prizes I take next turn. Damage Pump could be frightening. Gonna remove some damage from the Zoroark. I think our maths is still perfect though, and Tickling Curse, as I prefer to call it, takes the knockout on the Cram. Okay, so we're in for our 4 prize turn here. We've got Klara to get the energy. We've got all the things we need. We've got Cram, Sableye, a couple of energy. I like this. Very nice play. We've got the attackers we require. We can Lost Vacuum. We can get rid of the VIP Battle Pass to the Lost Zone and then remove that big Parasol. And then we can go for our Lost Mine. I think we might need to put down a Sableye for next turn. We don't really need a Cram though. Maybe we do? I think the Sableye is the best option for next turn. So we will Lost Mine here. We're dealing 120 damage in 10 damage increments. We've got 40 on the active, 30 to take it to 270, and then 20 plus 20 plus 10 is exactly 4 prizes. Disappointing that we don't get to use the 20 on other Pokemon because of that damage mover, but it's okay because we have got 4 prizes now. All we need is a attack from our Charizard to win the game. We're at that point now where if we attack with Charizard, we will win the game into a Zoroark on that side of the field. Another Crobat coming down though could mean that Sableye is potentially the option going forward. And I mean, I'm more than happy to take knockouts with Sableye. Like, Lost Mine is a very, very good attack. It's incredibly strong, and it's part of the reason that Tord won with a list that's very similar to, if not exactly the same as this. I've had it sitting in my account for a while. It's probably Tord's. It's probably Tord's list, to be honest. I don't know if I would have been intelligent enough to put something like this together. Almost definitely not, frankly, but that's okay. Alright, so this turn we can deal 120 with Sableye. We cannot take a knockout for 2 prizes this turn. We can put damage on Oranguru, we can take a knockout there, but I don't think that we can ever take 2 prizes. The only way that 2 prizes happens is if we use double Cross Switcher into Charizard plus Fire Energy, which is not super likely. It's still possible. But we only draw 1 card and we need 3, so we'd need to do some pretty special stuff here. Gengar coming down means that Sableye can theoretically hit into 2 single prize Pokemon to win the game. We would need another Klara, but we do have them. I don't know. We're gonna see a Lost Vacuum removing their own stadium there, which is perfectly reasonable. Thumbs down, though, no energy means that Sableye in the active survives. Okay, so now I think the game is pretty much locked up. We can attach to the bench, and we can actually be a real pain here. We can, well, let's just double check. Is our Charizard? Here it is. Okay, so even if everything goes horribly wrong, we can still win with Charizard. But the Lost Vacuum here, we can remove the big Parasol from Zoroark on the bench, which is really, really strong. It allows us to set that up for next turn. But more importantly, we can actually Lost Vacuum away their Air Balloon on the Oranguru in the active. And that means now this Oranguru could potentially be stranded. So we'll set up a couple of knockouts here. I'm gonna put 40. We'll put all this on the Crobat. We'll put it up to 90. Then we'll put 20. Ooh, we're going to put 10. We're going to spread all this out. We're going to spread all this out here. We're going to make it so we've got 40 damage on both of those Zoroarks. The reason for that is in a worst case scenario where Maybe somehow they remove both Sableyes from the board. Damage Pump cannot stop a Zoroark from getting knocked out by a Charizard. Charizard does 250 damage. Zoroark with 40 damage on it will only be able to remove 20. So they would need 2 Damage Pumps to stop that from happening. But at the moment, I'm feeling like we're probably in a good position. We probably win the game with Lost Mine into Crobat next turn regardless. We also have Cram. They could potentially Cross Switcher into Crobat. There's lots of different ways that we could win here. An attachment to the Oranguru is not the way to win this game, so it looks like we've taken the victory over Zoroark here. And you can see how Sableye is very strong, right? It's super, super good because it's able to pick off big multi-prize turns. And let's just put all of this damage on the Zoroarks, just so our opponent knows we had more than we needed. A very, very nice performance from Sableye. 6 prizes from it in as many turns. Cross Switcher was in the prizes, so I was never going to get that. We'll see if we can get another game and maybe take a knockout with Charizard. We'll see how we go. We've got a bit of a mixed bag of a start here. We've got a huge hand, like it's hidden behind me. That's how many cards we've got. But we haven't managed to find a copy of VIP Battle Pass. We've got the Comfey now, though, so we can throw that down. And a Sobble in the active for our opponent's a bit odd. I don't know what we're going to be seeing here. We'll put Path on the top. Colress is a good card to have for next turn. We'll scoop up the Oranguru. We can Comfey here. Remove that Path we don't care about. I like the Fire Energy. We can keep that nice and safe. We can Oranguru here. But this is not a good start. We need to like Primate Wisdom into a very good card here. That's a very good card. That's a good card. I'm happy with that card. I'm happy with the Comfeys off of the VIP Battle Pass. That is super, super nice. Let's switch card into Comfey, and now we are looking good. We've got pretty much all that we need. Let's go for the Lost Vacuum here. I feel like that's more useful. We only really need 1 Fire Energy, and we have access to it at the moment. Flower selecting one more time. This time we'll probably get the Scoop Up Net. I like that. We'll play down the Manaphy just in case. We'll play down the Path of the Peak, and then we will pass the turn there. Now, hand isn't amazing, but we do have lots to do next turn. We've got at least 5 cards to see. 1 to draw, 2 off the Flower selecting, and then we've got another Flower selecting at minimum with the Scoop Up Net. Unfortunately, we lost access to the Colress because we topped the Battle VIP Pass, which is just way better in that situation. So it's not like we're not going to play it, but in trying to be safe and avoid being Marnied out of the game, we've actually left ourselves with a bit of a weak hand here. So if we see like Empoleon from our opponent, that would be a real crippling time. Looks like this is straight Palkia though. Palkia plus Sobble plus Greninja suggests to me that we are seeing a straight Palkia build. Double VIP Pass from our opponent. We'll set up a very, very nice opening turn. Actually not grabbing any Pokemon off of the Battle VIP Pass at all. It's interesting. Well, that says to me that they don't have... Well, they don't have an Empoleon, for starters. They may not even have access to another Palkia if they didn't VIP Battle Pass. I can understand them not wanting to bench Sobbles because we've got Sableye, but still, like, you'd probably still want to play it. Let's Flower selecting, see if we can't get a good card. We can't find a supporter. I think the Switch card is probably better. We have 3 cards in the Lost Zone at the moment. So Switch card seems like the best option. We will throw another Comfey into the active and Flower selecting. Cross Switcher is a good card. I like it. It gives us another potential Comfey. I like that. Let's switch cart. We'll see whether we can get something off this Flower selecting. An Air Balloon, okay. An attacker would be good. I'd love to see an attacker here. I mean, we've still got a Oranguru. We've still got another Comfey if we want it. Let's Klara to the top. And there's a Marnie. Okay, sure. We've got another Comfey. We can potentially, like, we could go real risky and Cross Switcher out the Palkia and hope that we hit off of the next couple of cards a attacker. I actually don't mind that, because if it is their only Palkia, we probably want to put damage on it ASAP. Let's go into our Comfey that has the ability left over. We'll play the Air Balloon, and then I think we're just going to Marnie. We'll put all of these cards to the bottom of the deck. Charizard and a Fire Energy on the bottom of the deck is a good situation for us. This is not. We need to find an attacker off of this, right? Okay, well, we've managed to find one. This is going really well. Let's throw down the Cram. We can retreat and then do 110. Ooh, okay, we're doing okay. We've managed to squeak out a couple of turns here. We're getting a bit lucky. We got lucky to get the VIP Battle Pass. We got lucky to get the Cram. But we're attacking. We're doing well. We've got Colress for next turn. And next turn we will guarantee that we guaranteed are able to use Sableye next turn. Because we have Comfey, we have Colress. In fact, the only thing that we don't have is the Sableye itself. It's the biggest issue that we face at the moment. Sableye isn't actually in the field of play or our hand, so we will have to try and find it. Would really like to see those Sobbles stay as Sobbles, but they will not. We're going to see Drizzles evolve here. And that's probably not a bad idea for our opponent. They want to remove the multi-prize options for our Sableye. Something that this version of the deck doesn't do that you could absolutely do is play multiple copies of Echoing Horn. Echoing Horn's really strong with this deck, especially against decks like Palkia, where Sobbles are so easy to pick off of the bench. Definitely a good card that you could include really quite easily. It's getting quite hot in this room, which is weird because it's, as I'm recording, it's like 10:45. Oh my goodness, I need to go to bed soon. Let's see what this heavy ball has got in the Palkia. So it looks like they were a couple of prized Palkia, creating some problems for our opponent. There's the subspace swell, and now we are in a position where we can potentially Sableye this turn. We need to find the Sableye and the energy, but we've got a lot of cards to look at. Cross Switch is pretty good. Let's go for the Colress. I'll get the Colress. Oh, there's two VIPs here. That's fine. We'll Lost Zone both of those. We don't need them. And then we can Flower Selecting. Let's see. Ooh, the energy and the Fog Crystal. Would have been good if we've got those separately, but that's okay. We can retreat here from the Comfey and go into another one. We'll see whether we can get a Sableye off of this particular one. We can. Okay. Flower Selecting gives us a Sableye again. More than happy with that. Now we've got ourselves an attacker. Next turn we can Klara as well, which is good. So let's Switch Cart, throw the Sableye into the active. We can then Primate Wisdom, chuck one of our cards. I think the Klara is the right one onto the top of the deck. There's another Sableye, which I like, and then we can Lost Mine. So now, where do we put it? Then we take a knockout on a Drizzile. Just limit the amount of cards that our opponent can use. We'll place 90 there, and then I think we just go 20, 30 onto the active. That leaves our opponent with 140 on this Palkia. It's not like an ideal amount, but we can potentially get it within range of a Cramorant hit if we attack with Sableye again. And if we knock out a Drizzile, that would be brilliant. As I mentioned, no Echoing Horn means that taking the knockout on that Drizzile is a little bit sketchy, but I would rather set that up for an attack than not. Because we do need to be able to knock this Palkia in the active out. They're going to go for the Inteleon. I'm kind of afraid of that Inteleon. The Aqua Bullet seems quite scary. But they'll be able to use the ability right now, Shady Dealings, to search for 2 trainer cards and chuck them into their hands. Very, very nice. Very nice, being able to search out trainer cards. Unlike me, having to just draw through them the whole time. My voice feels like it's going all the time when I'm recording videos now. I don't know whether that's an issue that I'm having from being at work all day or whether I'm just getting old. But it's definitely a bit of a problem. Here comes the Training Court, Capacious Bucket. We're probably going to see a Star Portal this turn. I don't know if we necessarily can take a knockout on it, but I think that our opponent probably wants to stop us from blocking their Star Portal. Now the question is, do they go for the Greninja? Looks like they're going to Cross Switcher. Okay. Cross Switcher into the Manaphy. If they knock out the Manaphy with the Inteleon here, that's actually really frightening. No, they're going to go back into the Palkia. Okay, sure. Sure. I mean, we've got another Manaphy in hand. So this Palkia knocking out this Manaphy is not that big of a deal. I don't mind that at all. I don't want to have to deal with a Greninja, so I'm going to immediately play a Manaphy down. But the best part about this situation now is we don't actually need to use Klara to attack. We can just use Sableye. And then Colress could potentially be played here to thin out even more cards from our deck. I do like that option. Not entirely sure what our opponent's up to here. Looks like a Star Portal. Okay, sure thing. Sure thing. That energy going to where? 2 energy to the Greninja. Okay. So they're putting a lot of credits into the basket that says I don't have access to Manaphy next turn. I'm going to be pretty upset when I throw a Manaphy straight down. Definitely not a situation that they want to be in, but it's, you know what, it's fine. We've got Path, we've got Manaphy, we can throw those down, and now we can probably even use Colress if we want to. So I like that. We're going to Colress, we're going to grab the Cram, we're going to grab the Escape Rope, and the Cross Switcher. We don't need the Marnie, we don't necessarily need any more Retreat. I'm happy just sitting here, throwing the Klara back on the top with the Primate Wisdom, and attacking with Sableye. We also have another Flower Selecting here if we wanted it. We don't need to use it, and I won't. I don't necessarily need to draw too many more cards. Let's set up a knockout here. We're going to put 40 on the active. That leaves it with 100. So that means that a Cram could knock it out. I'm actually going to give it a little bit more here. We're just going to try and set up a couple of KOs across a couple of turns. So now the Inteleon on the bench can be knocked out by a Sableye. The Palkia in the active can be knocked out by a Sableye. We have guaranteed access to Sableye. And our opponent has already used their Star Portal and locked their energy on Greninja. Greninja is never going to be a useful attacker for them because we have Manaphy in play. Marnie. Okay, what are we going to draw off the Marnie? Well, we're guaranteed to draw a Klara because we put it there. So that's good. We actually find 2. Alright, so that's good news. We've got Fog Crystal as well, so we've got another Sableye if we want it. This one in the active is going to get knocked down. And we're going to throw forward our Comfey with the Air Balloon. Now, the Palkia on the bench is a bit of a scary one. We're going to need to set up a KO with Charizard here. Let's Fog Crystal. We're going to grab Sableye. We're going to put that Sableye down. We're going to play Klara and grab Cram, Sableye, Energy. We know we have energy left in deck, so it's all good. We've got the Sableye. We've got the energy. We've got the Primate Wisdom. What I might do with the Primate Wisdom is put the Charizard back on top, because I don't necessarily care about using Flower Selecting right now. Just want to make sure that we don't lose the Charizard if we get Marnied again. So we're going to take 2 prizes on the Palkia. Then I'm going to put... I've got to put 30 on this... I think I'll put 30 on this Palkia so that Charizard can knock it out. And then we're going to go as many damage counters as we can on Inteleon to try and take the knockout. So the situation is as follows. Our opponent has 3 prizes. They're going to take 1 this turn on the Sableye. We have Klara, we have Sableye. We're guaranteed to get the energy from the Klara. The Sableye can take a couple of prizes, theoretically. No, it can take 1. Sableye can take a knockout on Inteleon. Then, we need to remove the Path, play the Charizard, attach an energy, knock out the Palkia. If our opponent attacks with Radiant Greninja, which it doesn't look like they're going to do, but if they were going to do that, then we could attack it with Cram, and then try and set up like a sketchy big turn, maybe. Actually, no, if they attack with the Greninja, we'd probably just attack with Sableye into the Palkia regardless. I think that would probably still be the better play. So we've got 2 attacks left. Our opponent needs to take 3 prize cards. It means they've got 3 attacks left. So we need to have won before they do. 1 prize. Now it's race time. This is actually going to be pretty tight. See what we can do here. We've got a Comfey. We've got Flower Selecting and 11 cards left in the deck. I think now we probably need to start thinking about using our flower selecting. So I'm going to put the battle pass on top. Oh, pardon me. That means that when we flower selecting here, we'll actually guarantee that we discard a bad card. The VIP Battle Pass is not a card that we care about. We have the Charizard, we have the Energy. Let's go for the Klara. We'll grab the Sableye and the Energy, and probably just the Manaphy. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. Probably best to just have them. We'll throw the Sableye down, throw down the Energy as well. Then we can retreat. We'll go into the Sableye, and then we will take the KO on the Inteleon. It's the only way forward. We're going to take one prize off the Inteleon. We're going to put 30 damage onto the Palkia. Actually, what we should have done is we should have put 20 onto the Greninja, just to make sure that we could have knocked out anything next turn. But now the situation is, we have Charizard, we have Fire Energy, we have the knockout on the Palkia, but the path of the Peak that has been slowing our opponent down is still in play. So we do need to use a copy of Lost Vacuum. Now we know we had one Marnie to the bottom of the deck early in the game, but I can't remember whether or not we've seen it. So in the last couple of turns, I can't remember whether or not we've seen it. If it's in the deck, we are guaranteed to draw it, because we have Comfey, Colress, and the top deck. 8 cards left means we're guaranteed to draw it. If we don't have it, I think we actually just lose. So I think we're just going to go for it. I think we're just going to flower selecting and assume that if we have it, we win. We didn't have it in the first couple of cards. We're going to grab the Escape Rope just to make life slightly more difficult for our opponent. Colress finds the Vacuum, so we do have access to it. We just grab 3 cards, whatever cards we want. We can use Lost Vacuum to discard the Scoop Up Net and then Lost Zone that path to the Peak. And that means that we are now open and ready for Charizard to come in with 1 energy and attack for 250 damage into that Palkia, taking the last 2 prize cards for the game. This deck is incredibly strong, and if we have formats where there are low HP basics and V-Stars, then I think that this is always a very, very powerful option. So thank you very much everyone for watching. If you've watched all the way to the end, then you're an absolute legend. I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. You probably liked the video if you're still here. And people who always enjoy the video are these people over here. On this side, the members who provide me ever so slightly a little bit of money to keep the lights on in the studio that we are in. It allows me to make my camera look nice and crisp, which I think it does. Also, if you're into more Pokemon TCG videos, then you're probably into this deck over here. Very, very strong. I'm not sure what it is, to be brutally honest. But if you click it, it's a good one. It looks pretty good. You should click it. Go on, click it.